So I've been remembering at times that period that I spent in relative solitude in an unpowered shack up north for about 15 months, and remembering the way in the morning, talking about entering this spaciousness, sort of finding an entering where you're kind of slipping under your habitual tendencies, or under the thumb of your own mind. Finding a sort of entry point deeper than the measuring, efforting, controlling sort of grip of the personality or of me. And how I'd wake up, and before I could even think, I would slip almost like I was diving underwater into my sitting practice, just to see if I could stay in that slipstream of the experience of myself before my mind came in and I was identified with all the thoughts that were moving through me. And I think there's something very beautiful of what the Dharma is pointing us to in this possibility, or that something in us is unbound, that something in us is unbound, and we can feel that. I like that feeling when you do just dive under a wave in the ocean and you're swimming. There's something that we can touch when we're not so under the thumb of our mind, where we're not so sticky with our own thinking. That's very potent. And that the heart of the Dharma teachings, in a sense, do point that kind sanity that I was talking about in our practice, where we're not so reactive, where we're not so in the turbulence. That within that, there's something in us that can outshine the conditioned states that move through us, and that states that sometimes, really tighten us into knots, literally. That there's some process of undoing into this space, something that can outshine. When we touch this in moments, when we go, whoa, I am not just my anxiety. I am not just my trauma. I am not just my ambition. I'm not just my, whatever. There's some freedom. And so I just have a poem here. So I'll talk a little bit about this, and then I'm going to talk about also how we have something unbound, and then we're also very bound. This is a poem by a Spanish man, Juan Ramon Jimenez. Juan Ramon Jimenez. And it says, I am not I. He's saying, I am not just this identified I. He says, I am not I. I am not this one. I am not only this one, walking beside me, whom I do not see. No, I am not I. I am this one. I am this one, walking beside me, whom I do not see, whom at times I manage to visit, and who at other times I forget. The one who remains silent when I talk. The one who forgives sweet when I hate. The one who takes a walk where I am not. The one who will remain standing when I die. I am not I am this one. And he's trying to tease himself back into something more unbound in him. I am not I am this one. I am not just this passing phenomena. I am this deeper one. It's when we sometimes have that deep relaxation, like the Buddha under that rose apple tree, when stress does start to, the debris of stress in moments, agitation does start to wash away, it's quite a precious feeling as a human being, you know, when you feel at ease in your own body, just for a moment, when you're not under harassment or pressure, and the creativity that can come from there. But it's quite hard to get there at times, to be in a place that's not compulsive. And when we do touch it, it does loosen up the suffering that can feel very heavy. Yeah. When we do sometimes touch this more subtle aspect of our experience, it does start to sort of, you know, lighten up something a little. And I think part of touching this openness is the way we relate to our pain, you know, the way we do relate to everywhere that we are bound. There's some kind of key in this, some key in being able to also say that it's really deeply okay to be human and to have these suffering states where we are bound. There's something in the loosening into the unbound that allows us to relate to where we are bound a little more fluidly, with a little more openness. And I think in this, you know, one of the first things that the Buddha said, and there's no mistake, I think, but, you know, in life there is dukkha, in life there is suffering, and we can't escape this. Whatever strategy we have, however much we try to have the perfect life or the perfect partner or this or that or that or that or that or that or that, you know, we'll never actually be able to get away, you know, from sickness, from disappointment, from loss, from heartache, from heartbreak, from certain patterns of suffering that move through us. You know? And so the Buddha, as you know, we hear these things again, that the suffering isn't the problem. The suffering is the problem, but the way that we're so scared of getting hurt again, somewhere in us, you know, somewhere in us, our fear of suffering or our avoidance of suffering, our fear of getting hurt keeps us, you know, like some part of us is maneuvering or strategizing to not get hurt again. And the effort of that, the effort to go that can go into trying to wall things off. Because in the minute we're scared of getting hurt again or messing up again or doing something shit again or, you know, whatever it might be, you know, that sort of momentum, and very human, it's in all of us, you know, because what we face is kind of like, whoa, you know, there's a lot to face. To be human, life, death, sickness, pain. So no issue with the actual suffering. We're going to feel awkward. We're going to feel angry. We're going to feel insecure, you know, but the way we relate to it, our resistance to it compounds the suffering. It's so deep in us the minute, you know, really this sort of refusal to meet what is, thinking that somewhere else is a little bit better. Some other experience would be better than what I'm in right now. And in that, we kind of tax our own potency. It's like this sort of avoidance mechanism, you know, really full on, wired in us. So this key to the boundless is somewhere connected to our capacity to be a little more transparent and okay with being human. And I was sort of speaking, I've been speaking quite a lot about this lately, but, you know, about, you know, we're facing the sort of cracks in modern culture and the consequences of some of our striving and ambition, you know, and the cost of that. And, you know, I was talking a little bit about Tim Winton the other day, and him saying that he feels sometimes young boys, that the tenderness is shamed out of them. And that somehow he's speaking about men here, and I think it can also relate to women, but that the sort of patriarchal model kind of makes us look at life as if it is a fight or a game, you know, or sort of some kind of battle. And he says, but it's none of these things. You know, it's not a fight or a game or some sort of battle, our life. And he speaks about how we can sort of get the empathy or the deeper orientation to life, the empathy for life trained out of us. And I sort of mentioned how Octavio Paz, who's a beautiful, another Mexican poet, and how he would sort of speak, it's like modern human beings have forgotten how organic they are. You know, it's like we've sort of become machines in our demands on ourselves. And he said, but they forget, and I said this before, but we were all born from the womb, you know? We were all born from our mother's womb, wherever we were from, and we came out covered in white gunk or whatever it is. You know, we're these organic feeling creatures. And that this is, if we could really keep just reminding, our bodies are elemental. You know, our bodies are made up of wind and sun and fire and water and air. We are only here because of our ancestors. You know, we are part of this profoundly deep network. We're so in need of so many things to even live 1 second. We're so dependent, so not these individual, you know, like silo kind of things. If we could sort of feel this more, we'd be more equipped with all that moves through us as a human being. You know, I sort of think it's interesting, one Christian man, when he was sending some of his monks out to work in sort of different places where they were caring for people, and his name is Paul. And he said, you know, and some of you will have heard this line maybe, you know, work out your salvation in fear and in trembling. Work out your salvation in fear and in trembling. And kind of what do I get from that? It's like, yeah, it's okay to be scared and it's okay to tremble that this is going to be here. It's again like this resistance, you know. Oh, I shouldn't go there. I shouldn't be there. That's going to really, whoa, that's too much. That's a freak out. I'm not okay if I have those feelings, you know. But it's like we're human, you know, and we're born. I think it's interesting when I said, you know, we're all born out of a woman. It's like even in the text of the Buddha, it sort of said that he actually wasn't born out of a real womb. Some of the images, it's like he just was born in this kind of like holy case or something and then just slipped out the side, you know, as if the womb wasn't mysterious and potent and whoa, you know, astonishing enough that we have to sort of sanitize that. I mean, that's where you have to sort of question some of the patriarchal thinking in the Dharma. Interesting. Still the suspicion of the feminine. I think that's another thing that we're sort of suffering now, you know, is the disregard, I think, of a sort of feminine principle. So this sense that we don't have to run. Maybe we don't have to run and keep that striving going. That there is capacity in us to turn and meet and like settle with what is. To sit by the riverbank of our own experience with the ground below. So suffering is compounded when we resist it. And in the resistance and in the tightening, which we will do again and again, it's deeply wired into us, you know. We can't help but have to sort of hit up against this when we're practicing deeply our gripping. It's just part of the territory. But practice is when we do grip and we're freezing, we're sort of turning something that naturally wants to move into more ice and holding. So that spaciousness of attention, you know, that sort of relaxation, capacity to soften a little with our experience again and again and again and again. We're going against the grain of tightening when we feel pain. Again and again, this softening and flowing a little with experience. that in us, when we do grip on and we tighten, it's like we're under the sort of trance of fixation. That, yeah, this is who I am. This is totally kind of eclipsing me. This is my identity, this trauma or this one state or this one feeling. It narrows our awareness. And Mara, as many of you have heard of Mara, another famous figure in the Dharma. Mara is said to exist. Mara is like almost was the Buddha's shadow, like the personification of his deepest doubts, we could say, called Mara in the Dharma. Mara was with the Buddha at the beginning of his career, at the end of his career, even when he was teaching. You know, Mara came into the community of monks and nuns that I'll tell you about. Always, so we're working, he said, Mara is whenever we are gripping on. Mara lives where we're gripping. And Mara is also, Buddha sometimes called Mara, Antaka in Pali, Antaka. And Antaka, Anta means the end or a limit or horizon. So where we're bound to something is Mara, is suffering. And Ka is the one who imposes that limit. So Mara Antaka, someone who is imposing a limit or horizon or a full stop on our experience, that like, this is it, this is the end, this defines me. And so what the Dharma sort of says is that our identity is a lot more fluid and in motion than ice, that we are in process. So Mara, it's that which like fixes us into a dogmatic position or fixes us, you know, into this is how it is, or this is who I am, and I will never get what I want on that regard. I will never be, or I will never have, or I am just a sorry old soul, or I'm always going to be depressed, or I'm always going to have to live with this pain, or fix. It's these views in us built from the life of the past, usually supported by undigested emotion that hasn't had the chance to be felt and moved, so it's got stuck in it. So Mara is wherever we get fixed. So in the Buddha's life, you see again and again and again these attacks from Mara, that where Mara will try to keep bringing him back into the bind, bringing him back into a bind where he doesn't feel his energy and wisdom and power and natural just life. And I think it's something in our practice. It's like the obstacles that come at us. So when Mara is here, it's also the very food that helps us grow. It's like, it's kind of Mara comes with these initiations of these sort of hurricanes or these thoughts or these compulsive patterns or deep fear. And that's part of our practice. And to start to work with this, to see this, to forge a fresher, more open relationship with this, with what binds us. And, you know, I think we all know that in life there is some strange phenomenon, you know, that we will keep almost getting attacked in the places where we are bound, where we have certain views about ourselves. You know, life will sort of come in and kind of like get into our sort of deepest hurts to try to sort of, there's some feeling until we can stand up and say, no, here I stand. Like, I am not that anymore. I am not that hopeless. I have a space, or I have, you know, there's some attacks that will keep coming until we can stand up where we once collapsed, where we were once fixed. So in a sense, like the path where there's a sort of movement to align or put our energy into the ungrippingness of ourselves, to be able to have an identity that has a sort of porousness to it and an openness to it, to sort of withstand in moments of not being so bound, to be able to hang out in that, which can also be scary. And you start to practice, and first you're just dealing with all your own sort of maras, and it's really noisy and it's kind of dramatic, you know, when you first sit. And then it gets quiet sometimes. Then you start to open up. And then it's like existential terror, you know. Then it's like, oh, I'm not dealing with just my fear anymore. Now I'm dealing like with like deeper kind of, whoa, shit. I am not that I am this one. As we start to open, there's also, that's where Mara can come in and like get scared, like don't let go. And we sort of see like in the Buddha's life, even when he was first wanting to start on his Dharmic journey, and Mara comes in and says, no, just stay like a suckling baby. Just get really milky. Don't open your eyes. You've got lots and lots of time to wake up. You know, just go back to sleep. Have another bong or a beer or a eki or a, you know. Shh, it's okay. Just fade out. You know, and the Buddha would have to be really, he'd get sort of like a bit, whoa, like sort of sedated. And then, no, I see you, Mara. I see you, Mara. Don't undermine me. You know? And so Mara also lives inside our own thinking. See, where Mara is there, like, you know, cramp us down, cramp down our creative flow. I see you, Mara. The Buddha would sometimes say, I have energy, I have wisdom, and I have power, and I see you, Mara. And Mara comes in and darkens and eclipses and brings a lot of heaviness to the inner life. We start to look in what's going on inside. What's happening that's still not in the light of my awareness that's causing me grief? You know, we start to get more astute, more awake to what's happening internally. I see you, Mara. Then when Mara gets seen, it's like he kind of drops his shoulders and droops, and then he wanders away. He's got no one to play with, no one to needle, you know? No one to like poke around to try and find those weak bits, because the Buddha would just, no, I see you, and proceeds with what he's doing. So many times. There's another time when the Buddha when his cousin, who was very jealous of him, is trying to really pull him down when he's just starting to let his kind of light shine, or he's really starting to serve people. And again, Mara comes through a sort of jealous attack, and his cousin, and he tries to kill him in the end. And he throws a boulder at him when he's walking down from some place he's given a talk. And the Buddha, he doesn't get sore, but he does splinter his foot really badly. And he says there were racking pains. The sensations in my foot were so fierce, you know. And he lies down for a moment. And Mara comes, hey, stupid. Who do you think, like really fierce, you know, how cruel we can be in our own mind. Hey, stupid. Why are you lying down? And the Buddha gets, you know, shaken for a moment. And he goes, ha, Mara again. I have every right to lie down. I'm lying down out of compassion for all beings with sore feet. Yeah. And it goes on, like some of the language, just to get, because I think we can we know this texture sometimes. He says to him, when the Buddha really, and the other time earlier on in his life, when he realized that he had been starving himself to death, that he was malnourished, you know, and he realizes he'd negated his body and he wasn't receiving the nourishment from the ground anymore. I sort of feel this a little bit like, I mean, some of these languages are too simple, but a feminine principle of being able to love the earth, not override, receive and eat and be well in the body and also explore, you know. And when he started eating again, Mara came in and he said, you've forsaken the ascetic path, Gautama. And he says, by means of which we should all purify by the old ways. And he says, you think you're pure, but you're not pure. He said, you fancy you are, but you're not. That part of purity is not you. You are not good. You know, it's really heavy. Like that trying to pin you again to where you feel hopeless. Like some binding to pull you down. Yeah. And the Buddha again, like, you know, attacks are full on. Yeah. You know, I see you, Mara. I have energy. I have wisdom. I have power. I see you. I can eat, I can drink, I can have nourishment. This is the way. You know? And yeah, and again, when he was, you know, almost waking up, Mara, you know, because as we start unbinding, the binds will come stronger. That's the interesting thing. It's like as we unbind, the binds will get even further illuminated. So we think we're not still progressing sometimes, but actually the light of our awareness is starting to like wake up where we're really bound. So when the Buddha almost woke up, Mara went nuts, you know. She pulled out everything. Tried to seduce him with 1,000 women, devils gnawing at his head, every kind of appearance of terror or of undermining or of, you know, trying to make him just smash him down again. And he just had to stay. I sit like the Himalayas. I am unbound. You know, shameless openness. Nothing can destroy me like the wind cannot destroy the Himalayas. You know, so he had to work it, you know. There was this deep resting, but there was this clear seeing of claiming his movement into something more free. And then it didn't even stop there. Then we see when he was teaching, like the monks and nuns that he was instructing, there's a story about one nun who, you know, she's left the household and she's becoming wild and she's finding her freedom. She is unhooking herself from all of the dogma and the views, again, the limits that had been imposed upon her as a woman living in that time. She had claimed herself, I'm not that I. I'm not that I that you are pinning me to. I am a wider I. I am not that I am this I. I am this I. And she's out in the forest practicing, and she's also really starting to like feel the energy of the wildness of her own freedom. It's got nothing to do again with status or this or that or that. Can't buy it, can't commodify it. And she, so she's sitting there, and what does she say? Oh yes, here she is. Her name is, so I'm probably not saying all these translations correctly, so please forgive me, Pali scholars, but Apalavana, and she's a nun. She's under the tree, and then so naturally she's sitting there getting really free, and then her mind starts really freaking out, and Mara comes in. It's like, you're about to get, some guy's going to come and really hurt you soon, you know. There's rogues all around, you better run away, you're not safe here. In this case, she was safe, you know. And then she says, you know, Mara, though 100,000 rogues just like you might come here, I stir not a hair. I feel no terror. I don't fear you, Mara. I am free from the bondage of you trying to. Yeah. So she has her moment, and then she just goes on. You see how our fear of getting hurt again, how that can contract us. And the freeing up of that somehow, some awareness. If we keep practicing to get free of suffering, like, yes, of course, that happens because we get more intelligent with it. But the way of that is by entering. It's like it's a conundrum, you know? We get free of suffering by losing our fear of it. We get free of suffering by losing our fear of it. By knowing that we are something deeper than what moves through us. You know, there's that Australian saying, no flies on me, mate. You know, it's like that thing, like Mara will come in to where we're sticky, where we're bound, to start to crack it open until we can say, no flies on me, mate. I am not I am this I. I am not I am this I. So we could say, in a sense, sometimes we could start to feel that where do we put our attention? Do we put our attention on trying to make our life really safe? And I don't mean just a genuine nourishment that's needed. The true, beautiful, can you hear me? Is everyone, am I still, yeah. I'm not meaning like the safety of beautiful nourishment that's needed, nourishment and connection that we all need as a human being, and rhythms, and, you know, what really serves the health. But do we putting our life into getting more protected to sort of manage, or are we starting to really look at the real fear of our own reactivity and our own reactive minds? because we can always work with our own mind. So getting trapped in the cycle of our own reactivity and never being able to rest into a deeper place. And that reactivity and that sneaky Mara, to be able to see, to allow ourselves the possibility of a deeper participation and belonging and ease. And I know one Tibetan monk used to say, like, the real care, this practice of really being able to engage and meet our inner and outer suffering. And then also this practice of letting go, of like this care of deep engagement and letting go, deep engagement and letting go. Action and then non-doing, undoing, action and undoing. So we're not leaving big traces of ourselves. Oh yeah, timing. Okay, I'm just about at the end. So just about finished. And so this possibility of being able to respond to life from a liberating perspective rather than a fixed position. It's being able to respond from something more open rather than the conditioned fear. And fear is strong working with this, you know, and I think and just this thing about just exploring this resistance to experience, and then how that tightens the being. And without resistance, can some abundant creativity start to flow forward more unencumbered? Can we be surprised by what naturally moves through? Again and again, unclenching and going against the grain. And as Tim Winton said, maybe the life is not a fight, a game, something to win. But maybe it can be more of a dance. And what would it be to join more of the waltz, you know, the dance with our experience, where it's not so fixed, we're not like, yeah. And when we do get fixed, it's very painful, and we all do it, you know, like, and it's part of things moving through us and purifying and coming up. We will feel really crunched and fixed, and sometimes in those moments we just have to stay. A lot of beauty is actually going on. So thank you for your good ears in this exploration of this I and not I, and Mara as the limit, the one who imposes the limit, the fixation on the horizon. And yeah, appreciate all of your ears tonight, and may your creativity, and may there be regeneration, you know, within this really confined time, and deep, my heart just, yeah, deep warm wishes to everybody in lockdown and anything you may be navigating. It is a really demanding time. So I don't mean to minimize that, but I also think practice never happens in perfect conditions, you know, and we do have roofs over our head, and that's pretty astonishing, you know. We have like a warm bed to lie in. So yeah, but yeah, thank you all for being here and taking the time to sit and listen to the Dharma. Yeah, so yeah, thank you.